Good evening and welcome to my channel. Tonight, we'll be continuing our story of the Hearts of Argyle Godfrey by Nicholas Leonard. Chapter 10. It was June 2023, and I had officially been heartless for a year, but now I was beginning to feel the long-term corruption of such an affliction. I spent the rest of May and start of June regretting how I had confronted Aurora, and spent that time remembering how she looked at me that night in Salem. And I often failed at reminding myself that she only looked at me like that once. I dealt with an incredible amount of guilt for what I did to her, but I succeeded in reminding myself that I was heartless, and that Aurora saw no attraction in me, no romance for my soul. She only saw a potential lesson. I hate how long her beauty continued. She had the space to haunt inside my chest, wherein her memory maintained itself. Her mere existence cast a lasting spell, resulting nostalgia, joy, and grief. Her phantom split nostalgia in my chest as if it was a kind of gasoline. My flint and stone eyelashes never caught. What is a heartless man supposed to do but mourn himself? The moon and I had developed a kind of ritual in the wake of my breakup, and that was me going to Pine Grove Cemetery to stand over the burial grounds of my heart. I more so mourned my ability to be loved than I mourned the separation between my heart and I. I tossed the possibility of Aurora's actual mental disorder over in my head on these nights, coming to the conclusion that she was telling the truth on some nights, and concluding that she was lying on others. I did this so much that I realized I couldn't even believe myself. I never really knew what Aurora did to me, but the evidence was now emerging like barrels full of dead bodies popping up to the surface. I did my best to not contact her. That's not to say that I didn't want to. I wanted to. I desperately wanted to. She seemed to be the surgeon that could have reconnected my heart, hung it from my aorta, and plugged in all the right components until I was whole again. But she wasn't. I had to keep reminding myself that. "I'm glad you left her, Argyle," Dr. Cibola was saying to me at my physical. "But I fear this little upset might have worsened your condition." "Condition? But my heart's already been removed. How's it worsen it?" "It's still potentially at risk. I can't be certain, but I fear that such a relationship and tumultuous ending could have had poor repercussions on your heart and your mental health. I'd like you to find a therapist maybe, and some kind of support group." "Support group?" I said. "Do you know— Wait, are there others?" "You are the only patient of mine whose heart I had to remove. I can contact surrounding physicians to try and find others, and maybe then you and the others could form a support group for the heartless. But then again, Argyle, I don't know if there's any others." I looked around the little doctor's room. "So, there's nobody else like me?" I watched Dr. Cibola nod her head, her faint disappointment being genuine, and her tatted forearms giving her an air of witchy trustworthiness. "What kind of support group would take me in?" I asked myself aloud. "I don't know, Argyle. I'm sure there's mental health support groups, group therapies, all kinds of things." I touched my chest. "But this is more than a matter of mental health, isn't it?" How grimly Dr. Cibola nodded her head again, seeming disappointed to have to do so. "And, Argyle, I would suggest that you refrain from giving out your heart so soon again, though time may be of the essence now. It's been a year since it has been removed, and I fear how much time may be starting to form a disconnect between you and your heart." That can happen?" "Even in people who have their hearts inside themselves," she answered sadly, but with the earnestness of a doctor. "How long do you think I have, Dr. Cibola?" She waited before saying, "You'll know when you start to feel it, but by then you should come to me, okay?" For a moment, I wanted to tell her that I had already felt it, whatever it was, and I think it was that destructive freedom I felt the morning I told Aurora that I took back my heart. "I could try and find some potential matches if you'd like." No, no thank you. I think I'll try and find them on my own. You are sure, Argyle? I nodded, though not as grimly as she had. Other than that, I'm in good health? Yes, she said, consulting her clipboard. It appears your job keeps you in good health. A lot of walking, I explained, giving this reply with a chuckle to try and lighten the mood. That night, I surfed the web for nearby support groups in Peabody, Lynn, and Salem, though I wasn't so keen on going back into Salem anytime soon. I wasn't too keen on a therapist either, though maybe if I had gotten one years ago, then I wouldn't have ended up becoming heartless. I was pretty sure I wasn't going to join AA or LGBT groups, and especially not the chess group at the South Branch Peabody Library. I was also certain that I would not be a good fit for the women's support group in Andover. You relearn a lot about yourself when you go about deducting cliques and groups you could have been a part of, and you surprise yourself too. Heartful of Hands was held 2 nights a week in the basement of St. Anne's in Peabody, and it was a support group for amputees and people who had lost body parts from what I gathered. I cringed while reading the About section on their website, which most definitely was constructed by a well-meaning old woman. Would I be considered somebody who was missing a body part? The heart is a pretty important part of the body, after all, but I was afraid I would be equivalent to someone who had had their appendix removed trying to join, thus my hesitation. I didn't want to impose on people who had their lives physically upturned, but then again, wouldn't that physical trauma blend into mental and emotional trauma too? A mild trauma I was currently experiencing. A trauma that was teetering on becoming something serious, pure, unadulterated heartlessness. How many men have had to clean their hearts? I dug it up one muggy night, removing it carefully, very carefully, from the earth and some of the new roots which had started to growing over it, probably mistaking it for the shell of some long-dead snail. The moonlight shone upon a new smudge and plenty of skid marks along my heart. I tried to brush the dirt to no avail, the sunset struggling within the shell. Its light was threatened by pollutants on the dome, much like the brown sky above Stop and Shop. St. Anne's was empty the night I entered it, and even though it was night, the stained glass windows had absorbed enough faith during the daytime to remain illuminant throughout the night. Each one was tall and had the paradox of a rainbow at night, and it instilled the most subtle kind of hopes, the kind which tingles once inside your heart. It made the smell of candles and those communion wafers that tasted like cardboard inviting. The basement was like a section of the back rooms, but just a little darker. There were people down there, but not complete people. People in quarters, people in 4/5, and people in wheelchairs. People with one sleeve that no arm jetted out of. Had they all donated body parts to the stained glass windows? For a moment, that's what I thought. But either way, the sight of such a crowd of misfits made me freeze. "Oh, hello," a plump elderly lady said from a podium while all the members fixed their eyes on me and all my 4 limbs. Out of instinct, I waved, but quickly regretted having done so. Nonetheless, the leader nodded at me before stepping away from the podium, obviously bestowing it to me. "Introduce yourself," she whispered to me during the passing of the podium, to which I nodded. I took the podium. Hello, I am Argyle Godfrey." "Hi, Argyle," they moped collectively. "Tell us a little about yourself, sweetie," the leader cheerfully said. "And I am heartless. I had my heart removed because I kept breaking it. Most of you would think I'm pretty lucky, and maybe I am. I have all my fingers. I can wiggle my toes, but I don't know how I can be loved now. My doctor says I'm supposed to find someone to give my heart to, preferably sooner than later, she says. But I just got out of a relationship with someone who only was with me because she was heartless too, in a metaphorical sense, not literal like me." Was I fumbling my words? I swallowed and went on. "Basically, because I'm prone to failure and tragedy, I guess it was just too much of a risk for me to remain in bodily possession of my heart. I lost the privilege of having one. I loved my girlfriend. I really wanted her to be the one in possession of my heart. But now I'm scared to give it to someone else now. From what I gather, if my heart goes too long without an owner, Then I won't just be heartless literally, but spiritually, metaphorically, in every way, almost like my ex. She's a little scary, but I really hope she keeps all her legs and arms because I don't want to see her in here. They chuckled. I guess when you have to have something removed, or when something is removed from you, maybe it changes you. I've gone through a lot of change in the past few years since high school. Maybe too much, but, I wiped my mouth, trying to contain myself. I didn't really know what I was saying, or what I should say. I took a pause before saying, I look around and see some of you will never experience a foot massage from your husband or significant other, or some of you will never get to feel someone hold your right or maybe left hand again. Maybe some of you will never get to play or learn an instrument. Very briefly in my life, I got to use my heart, and I swear it was like a lion's. I tried heroic things and failed. I tried adventurous things and failed. But I guess it was just all too much now for a lion's heart. And now I'm a cart boy at Stop and Shop. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just all my heart can withstand now while it's the way it is. I don't want to be heartless, but I have to be. I stopped to take a deep breath. How intently they all looked at me. I think I'm supposed to communicate some kind of goal at this point in my introduction, but the truth is, the only thing I feel that's appropriate for me to do is to go back to Pine Grove Cemetery and bury my heart. I said this while throwing my thumb over my shoulder. I took the podium again, holding on to it. I'm scared, I admitted, and that was freeing without the destruction. The destruction had already happened, and the bird was taking flight off of the tops of ruins now instead of a mansion terrace. I'm scared, and I know I'm supposed to find someone good to give my heart to, but I just want to bury it. Let the heartlessness progress. Let it consume me until I'm so heartless that I don't even feel the fear anymore, feel the failure, feel anything. Why did this last admission feel optimistic? Maybe because I was voicing it for the first time, or maybe it was because of the accepting smile I gave when I finished speaking, which drew applause from those who could applaud. Either way, I guess I did what I had to do, which was to say my name and tell a room full of incomplete strangers that I was afraid. Thank you, Argyle, the leader said, letting me sit in the steel foldable chair she had taken when I spoke. I'm sure we will get your fear to subside. Just you wait, sweetie. I got a chance to better survey the members of Heartful of Hands upon being seated. There were plenty of old people. I'm guessing ancient vets or old men who lost one of their feet to diabetes. One of them was slouched over in a wheelchair, while who I presumed to be his wife oversaw him. There was one skinny man in his 40s with a neckbeard, red baseball cap, and one arm with the other a stump at the elbow. It seemed that all these people had thrown their missing appendages into a cauldron, and out popped the sweet old lady who currently spoke at the podium. And then I saw the only other person my age. She was a little tan in a gray sweatshirt with her blonde hair in a messy bun with streaks of brown in it, with a chip that interrupted one of her eyebrows, maybe a little scar, and one leg. She had those crutches that attached to the wrist, and they lay on the seat beside her. On the other chair beside her was a woman, also tan, with black hair tied back in a ponytail and a leather jacket. This other woman had a tattoo of a hummingbird in flight on her neck, and its green outline stuck out on the orange of her skin. This one seemed in possession of all her limbs until I saw a single digit missing from her hand. That night, I decided not to be heartless. I helped the old men in wheelchairs up the ramps that led back upstairs before some of their daughters could come rushing into St. Anne's to pick them up. This was a conscious effort, though it felt like a pointless task even while watching the daughters wheel their fathers back outside. I think this was my heartlessness flaring up. My hungry chest into revolt set sail, reminding how empty I was. Was it a task I had done to look good to the leader and the others? I think that's something Aurora would have done, if she was a narcissist. What was I? I didn't know anymore, and I certainly couldn't ask the old men being wheeled away. I hurried back into the basement to find those who could standing by a table and eating donuts from it. The smell of coffee was distinct. The woman with the hummingbird tattoo on her neck and the blonde girl with one leg were standing by the table. Now I could see indefinitely that the woman with the hummingbird tattoo was missing a finger after all, and it seemed to be her ring finger. The blonde girl had a look of being stagnantly unimpressed while the other was nibbling at the donut with the brevity of a judge on a cooking show. "Go on," the leader startled me. "The donuts are free. Oh, that's Demi and Holly. Holly was in a pretty bad wreck almost a year ago, and Demi, well, she cut off her finger after her fiancé cheated." Then she dropped her voice into a whisper. "She refused to let them sew it back on." "That's brave," I moped. "They both are. Everybody's brave down here. Go talk to them, Argyle. I'm sure they'd be relieved to have another young person among us." "If I see another donut, I think I'll quit my job," Holly, the one-legged girl, was saying when I started approaching, to which Demi retorted, "What do you want? Muffins?" "Cookies, cupcakes, I'll bake them myself," Holly said. "Good luck getting Ellen not to pick up donuts before every meeting," Demi said mid-chew. "She could at least get something other than Dunkin'. It's too bad they can't amputate a fat behind, 'cause that's what you're going to get," Holly said, to which Demi didn't care. "Humph," Demi said, pausing to swallow. "I don't care. They don't let the old people have donuts at Brookby Village. All they let me cook is muffins that make those geriatric geezers evacuate their colons." I seemed to make their conversation stop. I pointed at the blonde and said in a voice dopier than I wanted it to be, "Do you want me to help you upstairs?" "No, thank you. She's giving me a ride. Just waiting for her to stop filling her face with donuts," Holly replied, bun bobbing on her head as she nodded at Demi, whose mouth removed the donut's remnants from the fingers she did have with a pop after pop. "She's on a diet to look like Ursula from The Little Mermaid," Holly explained. And still Demi didn't care. In fact, Demi's figure seemed fine for a woman who enjoyed so many donuts. "What was your name?" Holly asked, the scar on her eyebrow following the movement of her brow. "Orwell?" "Argyle," I said. "You really don't have a heart?" Demi asked, to which I answered, "I do, just not inside me now." "You really buried it in a cemetery?" Holly asked. "Why'd you do that?" All I could do was shrug, for the truth was too hard to verbalize. Demi asked upon reaching for another donut, "What do you do, Argyle?" "I work at Stop and Shop," I said, even though I think I said so in my introduction. "What about you two?" "I'm a barista at Dunk's, but since I got back to work, they stuck me in the drive-thru," Holly answered. "I'm a chef at Brooksby Village," Demi answered, then said, "I never met someone who had their heart removed before. What happened to you to make you so heartless?" I sucked in a sheet of air, my teeth like the bowling of a hungry air conditioner. "Long story," I said. "Ellen's going to try to get you to talk about it," Demi warned, though there was a sense of the comedic in her warning. "He said it was removed because he kept breaking it," Holly told Demi. Then she asked me, "How?" I looked around the table of donuts for excuses and answers. "I just tried too many things that didn't end up coming to fruition." "So?" Demi shrugged. "That happens to lots of people. What's different about you?" "I think I'm just too prone to it, or my heart is too sensitive or damaged from it. Either way, it's out of me now, and it's not going back in," I said. "So what's the deal?" Holly asked. "You really have to give it away?" I nodded. "So it seems." "You're not going to find a perfect woman," Demi explained matter-of-factly. "Demi," Holly scolded her. "It's okay," I said. "I think I've come to learn that the hard way. Anyway, does this thing help? Heartful of hands?" Demi shrugged. "It does, actually, as long as you open up. We won't let you feel alone." Holly was looking at me. "It must be hard to be disconnected from your heart." My chuckle was without a sense of mirth. "It's supposed to make things less hard for me." "Can you bring it next time?" Demi asked me. I did something between a shrug and a nod. "Well, I gotta go, ladies," I said. Holly sacrificed her balance to wave to me, though she quickly regained it while Demi and I exchanged knowing nods. I got in my car in the parking lot of St. Anne's, where the night sky was a refreshing hue of indigo for a change. "You gotta be kidding me," I said in a partial groan after starting the car, which in turn turned on the radio, which Me and My Broken Heart by Rixton was playing. A song which I remembered coming out when I had been in middle school. Some of the lyrics reminded me of Aurora, and some of them reminded me of myself until it seemed the singer was like my second voice, one which I had been ignoring for quite some time. I left it playing as a form of some kind of self-torture while driving down the vacant suburb roads. I ended up murmuring the song while washing my glass heart under running water in the sink when I got home, somehow hoping reciting the lyrics would eradicate Aurora's face from my mind, but also hoping it would laminate it so that I could behold it forever. I was murmuring instead of singing because my mom was sleeping. Turning off the faucet, I realized it had been worth it because I looked and saw that I had managed to scrub out the dirt which my heart had accumulated under the earth. I thought about her. Did I break her heart? No, she never loved me. God, and did that make me feel heartless? Thus ends Chapter 10 of The Hearts of Argyle Godfrey by Nicholas Leonard.